Nikati Adaidashvini Vasachatradara Nikati Adaitashvini Vasachatradara Bose Ache Gaurachan Ratna Simhasane Bose Ache Gaurachan Ratna Simhasane Arati Korena Brahma Adire Vagane Arati Korena Brahma Adire Vagane Narahari Hari Kori Chamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Gosharigaya Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Gosharigaya Shanka Baje Ganta Baje Baje Garatala Madhura Medanga Baje Paramarasala Madhura Medanga Baje Paramarasala Shanka Baje Ganta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shanka Baje Ganta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shankha baje, ganta baje, madur 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 baje. Madur 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 baje. Madur 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 baje. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Varanau Jala Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Vadanau Jala Gala de Shivana Mala Kore Jala Mala Gala de Shivana Mala Kore Jala Mala Shiva Shuka Narada Premi Gada Gada Shiva Shuka Narada Preme Gara Gara Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sampara Bhakati Vinoda Deke Gaurara Sambara Gaurara Sambara Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandil Arati Kashoba Janavitatavani Jagamanaloba Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavare Paschatyadeshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaurange Aroti Choba Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurange Aroti Kashoba Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurange Aroti Kashoba Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurange Aroti Kashoba Jagajana Mana Loba Jagajana Mana Loba Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurage Aroti Kashoba Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurange Aroti Kashoba Jagajana Mana Loba Jagajana Mana Loba Jagajana Mana Loba Jagajana Mana Loba Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath Marana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Jaya Bara Makaruna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Bara Makaruna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Bara Makaruna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Bara Makaruna Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Paramakaranitai Gaura Chandra ki. Shri Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvakacharya Stotasta Sri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvakacharya Stotasta Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami Maharaj ki. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavini ki jai. Nitai Gaura Prem Nindi. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Lada Daini.
Prahlada Lada Daini.
Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha.
Hiranyakashi
Shilatankana Kalai.
Shilatankana Kalai.
Ito Nishimha Parato Nishimho. Nishimha
Parato Nishimho.
Oh, yato yato yami tato nishimho.
Yato yato yami tato narasimha.
Bahya nirsimha hridaya nirsimho.
Bahir narasimha hridaya narasimha.
Narasimham adim sharanam prapade.
Narasimham adim sharanam prapade.
Tava kara kamala varenakam adbhuta singam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bringam keshavadita narari rupa jaya jagadisha hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tava Kara Kamala Varenaka Bhuta-Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringam Keshavadita Naradirupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Jagadish Hare
Keshavadita Naradirupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Keshavadita Naradirupa Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev
Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya
Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Sri Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai Prahlad Maharaj ki jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Paramakuruna Nitai Gauran Chandra ki jai
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Dear Lordship Sri Sri Paramakarna Nitai Gauda Chandra ki. Nitai Gauda Premanandi. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you here on behalf of their Lordship Sri Sri Paramakarna Nitai Gauda Chandra, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's a pleasure for all of us to gather here. And if we never think we can do it, yes, we can do it. Put your hands together for yourselves. I was thinking last Sunday when we were making announcements that the general mood is that we already came for Sunday Love Feast. Who will come Monday? But then those of you who were here Monday, you saw what happened. And then those of you who went to Borbees and those who saw it virtually, you saw what happened. And again last night, even at short notice, last evening program was just like put together within a few days. Just within a few days because we were planning something else. And then that fall through, and the last night program on the west side, west coast was put together, and there was a huge turnout there. And again, the final session for His Holiness visit here this evening. In a few hours, 3-4 hours, Maharaj will be departing for the airport, going to Colombia. So it's an amazing, amazing journey, amazing experience over the last few days with His Holiness. And this evening will also be the same, unless we'll challenge you a little that Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, we'll challenge you a little this evening to remain that even if a pin fall on the ground, at least within 55 minutes of this evening session, that you can hear it. And that keep the children, beginning from Hari Kirtan and Pratisha, nicely taken care of, comfortable, that they also will not make a song. So we're going to try to do something that is called, like if you're live on air. So the discussion and Maharaj presentation here this evening will be recorded, pre-recorded for television programs. We have quite a few television programs that is lined up on TVG, on ENET, and of course our regular station on NTN. So we want to try to do something. That is why you're seeing this setting here this evening. We want to try to do something a little different. So there will be a part where His Holiness will make his presentation on the topic, Rising Above Adversity. Rising above adversity, and they said, finding strength, purpose, and leadership in challenging times. I don't know what challenging times means. I'm thinking we're all having a good time. I don't know what challenging times. We're all having a good time. So that will be the topic that we will be discussing, rising above adversity. So hopefully with Hari Kirtan and Sachi Sutta and the others, the camera wallahs, as we will say, Madhava Krishna Prabhu and others, His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj Ki Jai. We can all stand to welcome Maharaj. Hare Krishna. You can all take your seats, please.
Hare Krishna. This evening I join with Prabhupada Prabhu in welcoming everyone who have gathered here this evening for this wonderful satsang program. And as Prabhu mentioned, and for those of you who have been with us over the last few days, it has been quite an exciting time hearing and being in the association of His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj. I would just like to briefly introduce Maharaj as we'll get started with the discussion this evening. His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj is internationally known as a monk within the Hare Krishna movement. He would have joined this movement at a very young age, at the age of 21, after graduating from University College London. Ever since, over the last 2.5 decades or so, he has been receiving training and preaching at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, one temple which was established by Srila Prabhupada in the 70s, 60s, 70s. His Holiness, with over 25 years of studying the Vedic scriptures such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and others, he has authored over 10 books and has also dedicated his time in developing over 50 educational courses focused on purpose, relationships, personal growth and development, and holistic well-being. He is the founder of several educational initiatives such as Wisdom That Breeds, which is an online platform for disseminating spiritual knowledge. He has also recently completed a monastic fellowship at Harvard Divinity School, that is from 2025 to this year, 2026. So today, His Holiness S.B. Keshav Maharaj travels worldwide, sharing practical spiritual wisdom at universities, Fortune 500 companies, governmental institutions, and spiritual communities, inspiring people to transform their character, consciousness, and their approach to life. So let us all welcome His Holiness Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj once again for this evening, which is the final evening with Maharaj. So in our usual way, together, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you, Maharaj. And with us for the panel discussion, we have His Grace Prabhupada Dev Prabhu, who will be moderating this session this evening, Temple President for the Hare Krishna Study Center, and also Chairman for ISKCON Guyana National Board. So welcome, Prabhu, and very happy to have both of you this evening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so sad to be leaving tonight. But as sannyasis, we need to keep moving, but I hope that my travels will bring me back to Guyana again very soon. It's been wonderful to be with you. And today we're discussing a topic, how to deal with adversity. And in school, they teach you many things, but there's certain things you don't learn at school. Like I often say, school teaches you what to think, right? Whenever we would be in the classroom, the question to the teacher was always, is this going to be in the exam? Because if it wasn't in the exam, we weren't going to memorize it. So school teaches you what to think. But the Bhagavad Gita teaches you how to think. School teaches you about the laws of society. But Bhagavad Gita teaches you about the laws of nature. School will teach you perhaps how to make money. But the Bhagavad Gita will teach you how to spend that money with generosity and in a mood of service. School may teach you how to pursue success. But the Bhagavad Gita teaches you how to deal with failure when it comes. School may teach you competence, academic knowledge. But the Bhagavad Gita teaches you character and mindset. And today our topic is how to deal with adversity. And there's no subject in the school which teaches you how to deal with adversity. Was there any subject at school which taught you how to deal with it when someone you love in your life passes away? Was there any subject in school that taught you how if you wake up tomorrow morning and the doctor tells you you have a serious health problem, how to deal with it? No. Was there any subject in school which taught you how if there is some political or environmental crisis or a natural disaster, how to deal with that internally? No. Therefore, this science of how to deal with adversity is a science which is taught only in the spiritual realm. And so today we're going to discuss a little bit about that. But before we do that, we'll just offer our respects to Srila Prabhupada, who himself faced so many adversities. Srila Prabhupada came to America all alone at 70 years old. On the ship, he had 2 heart attacks. When he came off the ship, he said, I didn't know whether to turn left or turn right. And that Srila Prabhupada, 12 years later, had traveled the world 14 times and spread Krishna consciousness to every major city in the world. That's how he responded to adversity. And so Srila Prabhupada is our inspiration, our guide, and the living example of this topic. So we offer our respects to him and to all the great teachers who give us this beautiful knowledge. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Once they were driving Srila Prabhupada, and as they were driving Srila Prabhupada in the car, they got stuck in a traffic jam. So as they were sitting in the car, stuck in this traffic jam, Srila Prabhupada looked out of the window of the car. And as he looked out of the window of the car, there was a sign. And the sign said, roadworks. Temporary inconvenience, permanent solutions. And when Srila Prabhupada saw that, he began laughing and he said, the material world means temporary solutions, permanent inconvenience. One sure way to make yourself frustrated in life is to try to ensure that there's no inconvenience in your life. I'm here to save you a lot of pain. Don't even try to avoid pain. This is a very, very powerful, a very, very painful truth. But the truth of life is that material world means a world of obstacle, a world of difficulty, a world of issues, and a world in which things don't go according to how you want them to go. They say if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans. Once there was a lady, a mother, who went through so many adversities in her life. And every time something would happen, she would go to the household altar, and in front of God, she would pray intensely. And then again, she would come back and something else would happen in life, and she would go back again in front of God and pray intensely. And then another challenge would come, and she would go in front of God and pray intensely. And then one day, her son became so frustrated. He said, "What's the point? Every time you go in front of God and you pray and you pray and pray, but the problems keep coming and coming and coming. What's your God doing? Maybe he's on holiday." She said, "Why don't you come and pray with me?" Reluctantly, the son went with her, and she again began praying in front of God intensely. And this time he heard her prayer. And what was her prayer? "God, please give me the strength to deal with this difficulty. And in that moment, he realized, oh, now I understand. Every time she went in front of God, she never prayed to God, God, change my situation. God, solve my problem. God, make this thing disappear. Every time she went in front of God, she simply said, God, give me the strength to deal with this. Sometimes we look up at God and we say, God, change my situation. We don't realize God is looking back at us and saying, but I sent that situation so you change yourself. We're praying for the situation to change, and God is saying, I'm sending you this so you can change yourself. The moment you understand problems are meant to help you progress, pain is meant to help you find purpose. The moment you make that shift in your mind, your life begins to change. And therefore, we call this the problem paradox. Problems lead to progress. You see, in life, there are many paradoxes. Paradox means on the surface, it doesn't make sense. But when you think deeper, it actually makes sense. Like I give you an example. The success paradox is, the more you fail in your life, the more successful you're likely to be. Ever thought about that? The people who fail the most are the people who often succeed the most. It's called the failure paradox. What about the speed paradox? Do you know that one? The slower you go, the faster you reach your destination. You say, how does that work? Yes. Because if you take time to introspect, to reflect, to not just be passionate in your life, but to stop and actually act purposefully, you might find that you're way more effective and efficient in your life. This is called the speed paradox. Here's another one, the information paradox. The less news you watch, the more informed you are. Everyone's thinking, let me watch all the news, let me hear all the stories. And we don't realize that all of that is making us less informed actually about the world, because it's not allowing us to think for ourselves. What about the death paradox? The more you think about death, the more purposeful your life becomes. How many of us think about death? I want to think about death. But did you know the people who face their mortality and realize one day I'm going to die, those people actually end up living the most purposeful lives? So today, we're taking some time to reflect on the problem paradox. The more problems you have in your life, the more opportunity you have to progress in your life, provided you know how to deal with your problems and respond to them in an appropriate way. And remember what I said at the beginning of this talk, there's no subject in the world which will teach you how to deal with adversity. That knowledge is taught in the Bhagavad Gita and in other spiritual traditions around the world. When we go through difficulties, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that we should look upon those difficulties in a different way. Imagine this is something bad that's happening in your life right now. I'm sure there's something bad happening in your life. The first thing you need to do is look at all the good that surround the bad. When we go through a challenge, when we go through an adversity, when we go through an unanticipated obstacle, all our energy goes there, and we become blind to all the other beautiful things that are there in my life. But did you know, the person who has spiritual wisdom, when they go through a difficulty in life, it brings all the other beautiful things in their life more into focus. Therefore, the first opportunity of facing adversity in your life is to become grateful for what you do have. And therefore, the first thing you should do is when there's something bad, look for the good around the bad. The second thing Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita is when something bad happens in your life, look for the good that's coming from the bad. If you reflect back in your life, the most difficult times in your life were the times when you developed the most. You became the most wise, your character became strengthened, your relationships became deeper, your dependence on God increased, your all of these benefits come from struggle, from adversity, from difficult situations. And so the wise people, they don't just judge the moment, but they judge what the moment is leading to. A Christian monk once said, he prayed, he said, God, I asked you for wisdom, and you just kept sending me problems to solve. God, I asked you for love, and you just kept sending me people who needed help. God, I prayed to you for strength, and you just kept sending me more and more obstacles in my life. And then he looks at God and he says, God, now I realize you gave me everything that I needed, but nothing that I wanted. Think about that. God gives you everything that you need, but not necessarily everything that you want. In other words, the spiritualist is able to see the good that comes from the bad. And the third thing a spiritual person is able to see is when there's something bad, they realize this bad is pushing me to become good so I can counteract the bad. In other words, pain and problems push you to become a better person. When you can no longer control the outside, then you're forced to elevate the inside, to deal with it. And therefore, I'm just opening today's discussion on facing adversity with these three meditations. When you go home today and you think, my life is bad, the first thing I invite you to look at is all the good around the bad. The second thing I invite you to look at is the good that's coming from the bad. And the third thing I invite you to look at is the good that this is forcing you to become so that you can counteract the bad. And when you're able to focus on these three things, then even when life is not going according to your plan, you will still feel energized, empowered, inspired, and enthusiastic to wake up in the morning and say, life is beautiful. And that is an art which can only be achieved through spirituality. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Your Holiness, our traveling monk to Guyana, traveling around the world. It seems to me that from his presentation here this evening, we're hearing quite a bit on dealing with challenges, dealing with adversity, difficulties. So we'd like to continue with a few discussions on the point of rising above adversity. Maharaj, my first question to you this evening is how to distinguish between a challenge that we should patiently tolerate and a situation where we need to take decisive action and make a change.
Thank you so much. There's a serenity prayer. I don't know if any of you know this prayer. But the serenity prayer is, God, give me the wisdom to know what I can change. God, give me the wisdom to know what I can't change. God, give me the wisdom to know the difference between the two and the serenity to tolerate. In life, there are certain things you can't change. So what we do in our life is we put our best effort, we put our best endeavor, we put our best intention to trying to solve problems. At one point, we realize, I've done everything I can do. And then at that point, we have to step back and realize, if I've exerted all my effort and endeavor in trying to solve something, but it still remains there, then it's something that needs to be tolerated. It's something and it's an experience that I need to go through in my life. And so, how do you know whether to tolerate something or whether to try to change it? Our first response is always to try to make life stable. But we will always come to the point where we realize, I don't have the power to do that. And in that point, we have to have acceptance. And so it's just about knowing the point at which your endeavor has reached its final limit and then stepping back and having the grace to accept.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness. And I'm sure from Maharaj earlier discourse, you would have heard quite a bit, all of us, in terms of the examples and what can happen and how to deal, how to see positivity in amidst adverse situation, adversity. But then you will also agree with me that many persons in today's society question their faith, Maharaj, that whenever there are adversity, whenever there are challenges, difficulties, and it keep reoccurring again and again, and like you just said, you may try all kinds of things, maybe sometimes we tend to lose faith, even in the very thing that we would have stand for before. How would you respond to such cases?
So sometimes we look up at God and we say, why me? Why me? I'll tell you a story. There was a famous tennis player. His name was Arthur Ashe. He won Wimbledon and he was loved by many, many thousands of people. At one point in his life, he went for a medical surgery and they made a mistake in the blood transfusion and he contacted AIDS and he was terminally ill and he was on the countdown to death. So he had only a few months left to live and all of his fans were sending in letters expressing their love for him. And in one of the letters, the fan asked him, why you? Why you? And he wrote a beautiful reply to that fan. He said, 50 million kids in this world start playing tennis. Of them, 500,000 learn professional tennis. Of the 500,000, 50,000 maybe are able to come on the circuit, the professional circuit. He said of those 50,000, maybe 5,000 will make it to some of the main tournaments. And he said of those, maybe 500 will make it to a Grand Slam. And he said of the 500, maybe 50 will make it to Wimbledon. And he said of the 50 that make it to Wimbledon, 2 will make it to the final. And of those 2 that make it to the final, only 1 will win. He said, I won. And when I was holding up that cup, I didn't look up at God and say, why me? At that time, I didn't look up at God and say, why me? At that time, I didn't look up at God and said, why me? So how do I have the right in my struggle to look up at God and ask, why me? Look at all the beautiful things God has done in your life. Look at all the arrangements. Look at all the opportunities. Look at all the relationships. On balance, if we're honest, if we go in front of God, if we're honest, we can't even ask God for anything, because if we're honest, we'll look in front of God and say, you already gave me so much more than I could have desired in my life. The other day I was just thinking, because I saw someone who had lost their eyesight, and I was just thinking for a moment, imagine I was blind. Just think about that for a moment. Imagine you were blind. Imagine you couldn't see. Imagine what that would mean for your life. Almost immediately your world becomes like this. But all of us see through our eyes every single day, and we don't even think about the fortune of being able to see, to hear, to touch, to laugh, to love. And therefore, if one is honest and if one is introspective and reflective, then they'll realize that so many beautiful things are there in my life. And they'll also be able to realize that the challenges and the difficulties in my life are part of a greater plan to help me realize even more beauty in my life.
Thank you very much. Amazing, amazing response. Many a times we also question that, is it that God doesn't like my head? I think I am of myself as being a good person. I'm sincere, I'm living a good life. Why does He causes or allow all these calamities in my life? I'm a good person, I'm living a good life, but why He is causing or why He is allowing these things in my life?
Well, some of you are parents, and as parents, do you sometimes have to discipline your children? Do you sometimes have to tell them difficult things? Do you sometimes have to restrict them? Do you sometimes have to deny them from what they really want in their heart? Yes? And why do you do it? Because you want them to have something better in their life. Every time God says no, every time God denies, restricts, stops, reroutes our life, we have to understand it's the hand of a loving parent who is guiding us towards something much more beautiful in our journey. And therefore, do the people who just give you what you want instantly, are they the ones who really love you? Or are the people who don't sometimes give you but what you really need in order to realize your potential, are they the ones that love you? You can do an analysis in your life and ask yourself that question. And when you come to the answer, then you'll realize that even every time God sends me a challenge, clearly it's because He's trying to take me to a much more beautiful space.
It seems to me that from what you're saying, we should somehow or the other learn the art, the technique, to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that no matter what's happening in our lives, there is a higher purpose. So therefore, my next question is that, amidst all the setbacks, amid all the difficulties and, trials that I may be going through or we may be going through in our lives, how can we, what level of intelligence or training or upbringing we may need to have or subject ourselves to, that we can really and truly see the light at the end?
Each of us have a karmic bank balance that we're dealing with. And all the situations, all the events, experiences, emotions of life are part of this karmic account. And karma is meant to teach us something. But the scriptures explain, or the sages explain, that there are different things in your life that are required in order to see the lessons that you're meant to learn from everything that you're going through. And basically, in your life, if you can see through the lens of spiritual wisdom, you can see through the lens of spiritual people, and you can see through the lens of spiritual practice, then these three things can give you the vision in order to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to see the lesson from the challenge, to see the progress in the pain, and to see the deeper reason why I may be going through what I'm going through. And so if you want to develop this art of being able to see beyond your immediate suffering and see the greater gain, you have to connect with spiritual wisdom, with spiritual people, with spiritual practices, because what these three things do is elevate your consciousness so that you see things, but you see something very differently to how everyone else is seeing it.
How the scriptures, like for example Bhagavad Gita or any other sacred literatures, what example or what lessons we can learn from your experience over the years studying scriptures and being an author yourself that will help one to see in this light that you would have just said, that we can remain calm, we can have the peace of mind or the satisfaction, the level of compassion, tolerance that is required to really take us on this path that you're pointing out?
Well, the very first and most basic teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is that this life is just a chapter. We're trying to figure out the whole story of our life just by looking at one chapter. And so as soon as we realize this life is just one chapter, I was here before, I'll continue to live after, and that every situation I'm going through is just one point on the journey, then immediately you begin looking at your life in a very, very different way, because you see that this is just one point on the journey. And so the Bhagavad Gita has the ability to help you to zoom out from your life. When you go in the plane and you go very, very high, then everything that was very big on the ground now all of a sudden looks very, very small. Not because it's become small, but because you've become elevated in your vision. And therefore, to understand, I'm a spiritual being. This body, this life, this identity, this is just temporary. I live beyond all of this. And these temporary experiences are part of an eternal journey. And then we don't judge things with that small-mindedness anymore.
When I look around in society and based on my own experiences, most of the time, difficulties, adversity or problems or what we views on being, let's say, something that is right or wrong, or someone is doing me, harming me in a particular way, most of the time it has been somebody who would have been close to me. Not that, you just walk down the road and somebody just ball you up just like that, or just criticize you, or just, just put some load on you just like that. No. It's most of the time either in your own circle, among your family members, among relatives, among friends. It is not really outsiders that are causing us, or let's say putting us through those adversity. does that relate to karma, or why does God or nature design it like that?
Thank you so much. So sometimes the closest people in your life give you the most pain. And you wonder, but they're the close ones, they're my family, they're my own blood. But what does Krishna explain? Everyone's a spiritual being. And those family members are family members in this life. In a previous life, they were the same strangers. And in a future life, maybe they will be strangers. Maybe the people you think are strangers right now, in a previous life, they were your family members. So the first thing is, who is close and who is far? In one sense, the Bhagavad Gita says, we're all connected as spiritual beings. So the first thing we should realize is that everybody is close, because everybody is a spiritual being. And we don't narrow it just to our family or nation. But the second thing to realize is, yes, every single person in your life has been placed there for a reason. The person who encourages you is there for a reason. The person who criticizes you is there for a reason. The person who challenges you is there for a reason, because all of these different individuals help us to develop a different aspect of our personality. And sometimes the negative people in your life are helping you in a way that you may not even realize.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, and I'll probably bring it a little direct to you that throughout your life, we are sure that you would have, up to this point in your life, experienced all kinds of situations. Can you share with us some sort of adversity that you would have gone through personally, and how did you see it? Did you see Krishna's mercy along the path, or how you would have dealt with it?
So how I went through an adversity and eventually saw the good that was coming from it?
Yeah.
I just speak philosophy. I don't have any practice. No. When I was 21, I graduated from university and I went to India. My parents were expecting I would get a job, especially after they had paid thousands of pounds for me to go to university. I said, I'll come back, I'll get a job, but I just need to go to India just for a short trip. I went to India when I was 21. I came back, I knocked on my door at home. My mom opened the door. I said, Mom, I think I'm going to become a monk. She said, you said you're going to get a job. I said, I think this is my job. She said, that's not a real job. I said, it is. She said, what's the pay? I said, I don't know about the pay, but the retirement plan is out of this world. So you can imagine it was emotional for my parents. Some of you are parents. Imagine your son would come to you today and say, that's it. I'm going to become a monk. I'm walking away from everything. It was painful. They argued with me. They cried. My mom cooked the best things for me and said, if you stay at home, you'll get this every day. She tried everything. But one thing is, my parents challenged me a lot at that time. And at the time, I was thinking, why are they challenging me? I'm doing a good thing. And it was a very, very strained relationship with my parents at that time. Because I thought, I'm trying to do something good in my life, and why are my parents trying to stop me? And they gave me every argument why I shouldn't do it. In that moment, I thought, Krishna, God, I'm trying to come to you, make it easy for me. Like, work with me here, you know? Like, I'm trying to come to you, like, work with me here. Years later, I realized, when they challenged me, when they questioned me, when they doubted me, what that forced me to do is ask myself the question, why am I doing this? Do I really want to do this? Is this really the right thing to do? And now I realize that if my parents had not challenged me, I wouldn't have clarified my purpose. And the fact that they challenged me and the fact that they helped me clarify my purpose meant the day I walked into the monastery, I knew this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. But had nobody challenged me, I would have just taken it easy and I wouldn't have been able to walk the path I was meant to walk in my life. And so sometimes even the people that challenge you are helping you to find determination in your path. And that's one way I saw a very adverse situation was actually the exact thing that I needed in order to realize my potential.
Thank you very much. So you can get the mic. If there is someone who would like to add to the discussion, the questions, if you will have some questions, we'll open up after this, maybe one or two other questions I have. Marge, what you just said, bring me right into, you almost answered it already. I'll just still ask, maybe you have a few examples that you want to share on this. How can someone recover after a major failure without allowing that failure to define their identity or their future?
How to deal with failure. It's simple. There are 3 sutras. Number 1, failure is never final. Number 2, failure is never bad. And number 3, failure is not actually possible. I'll explain what I mean. The first thing to realize is that failure is never final. At any point in your life, you have the opportunity to say, this is not how the story is going to end. At every point in your life, you have options. At every point in your life, you can turn it around. There's never a point in anyone's life where they say, I've made a mistake and that's it now. There's always a chance to recover. So failure is never final. It only becomes final if you define yourself by it. But the second thing to realize is that failure is not bad. You see, when you're successful, it only confirms what you already know. But when you fail, you're forced to grow. You're forced to improve. You're forced to think of a different, a better way to do it. And in that way, failure actually causes you to grow. And so failure is not bad. Remember what I said, the failure paradox? The people who fail more succeed higher. But the third and most mystical point is that failure is not actually possible. You may say, but I failed. It's not actually possible. Because Krishna says success or failure is not dependent or not determined by the result. Success or failure is determined by the effort, the endeavor, the intention. If you're a student and you put 100% effort in, but you don't get the results you imagined, in Krishna's eyes, you're a success. And if you're a student and you don't put your effort in and you still get the results, in Krishna's eyes, you're a failure. Because failure is not about results. Failure is about effort. And so if you can go to bed at night and say, I put my best effort, I put my best endeavor, you're already a success, doesn't matter what the outcome is. Because that's all we're in control of. So whenever you fail, or seemingly fail, remember, failure is not final, failure is not bad, and in the deepest sense, failure is not possible if you've tried your best.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, quite a bit we're getting tonight. Just before I open it up, Maharaj, if someone are facing the most devastating circumstance or difficulties, hardship in their life, what is the one message you will want to leave with them?
Life may never be the same, but life can always be beautiful. We lose people. Our fortunes change. A situation around us completely turns upside down. And in that moment, we realize my life is never going to be the same again. But what we should also realize is even though life may never be the same again, life can still be beautiful. Because there's always more beauty to find in your life if you continue walking the journey beyond the chaos that you're currently in. And therefore, life may never be the same, but life can still be beautiful.
Wow, thank you very much. So are there anyone in the audience who have some questions? If you would like to ask, you can raise your hands. If someone have a question. In the meantime, you're thinking, Maharaj, in your travels around the world, of course, you've been, reaching all, maybe persons of all background, all kinds of situations. What are some of the things that you would have noticed coming to Guyana? Of course, you were in Trinidad before. Coming to Guyana, being here for the last few days in Guyana, that you would want to, let's say, bring to our attention, maybe in the form of an encouragement, a message, or an observation?
You have good fruits here. What we're doing here tonight is very special, actually. To have the opportunity to come together in spiritual community, to have the opportunity of having a temple, a facility like this where we can come and learn, meditate, connect with Krishna, to have the opportunity to come and be educated in teachings which help you to see life in a very, very different way. This is actually incredibly, this is priceless. I travel the world, and do you know that I go to countries where if you would have a public gathering like this talking about spiritual teachings, within 30 minutes, all of us would be in prison. There are countries where people need to travel 15 hours so that they can meet one other person who's interested in spiritual knowledge. And then what they have to do is go 4 floors underground and secretly discuss with each other because they can't do it openly. Dear friends, don't take the temple for granted. Don't take this community for granted. Don't take this opportunity to learn for granted. This is an opportunity which is gifted to us after lifetimes. And this gift of coming together, learning together, spiritually growing together, if you take advantage of this one gift, everything else in life will become beautiful. So this gift, to realize it in other parts of the world, you have to work so hard. But here, the gift is right in front of you. And sometimes when the gift is right in front of you, you may not take as much advantage as you could. So, while you're here in Guyana, while the sun is shining, I don't think the sun stopped shining here. I come from London. There's only one season, rain. It's a beautiful country, but more than that, it's a beautiful community. So keep coming, But don't just come. Take advantage of the spiritual opportunities that are available. Because if you take advantage of this, life will become beautiful.
Thank you very much. Anyone?
I think there.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
It's very interesting that you just mentioned as well some of the blessings we have in Guyana. Guyana is going through a really rapid economic transformation. And coming from a country that was almost like in a famine for many, many decades, now heading into a feast, some of the qualities that I'm observing are qualities of greed and corruption and negative characteristics coming out. And the question is really, what are some of the spiritual principles, in addition to what you spoke about this evening, that should guide our leaders and our citizens so that the prosperity that's heading into Guyana now strengthens our character, unity, and responsibility to future generations?
Maharaj?
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained that wealth, money, prosperity sometimes can be the root of all evil. So therefore, in our own lives, in our families, in our communities, hopefully one day in our countries, there are two very, very important principles to add to wealth, to ensure that the wealth doesn't degrade the person or the nation. The first thing with wealth, in and of itself, wealth is not a problem, but there must be two things. The first thing is you have to earn it with integrity. When there's corruption, when there's exploitation, when there's all kinds of underhand things being done in order to earn money or wealth, then that wealth degrades us. So wealth must be earned with integrity, and then wealth must be spent with generosity. It must be spent for the benefit of just more than just our own selfish gain. When we as individuals live that, we earn money with integrity and we spend it with generosity. When that becomes a principle of ourselves, our communities, and our nation, then the economy will always strive, because from Dharma comes Artha. If you follow Dharmic, righteous principles, you will be economically stable. But if you try to find Artha, minusing it from Dharma, then that Artha will eventually collapse. What can we do? There's a nation. We're not going to be able to change the nation overnight. But what we can do is begin with ourselves. And then begin with our communities and show the example of how to earn with integrity and spend with generosity. And if we do that, then we can have prosperity along with spirituality.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for your question.
Hare Krishna. Bible.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
I must thank the Prabhu there for the inspirational messages. However, what is it that I want to establish is that addiction. Addiction in our country is something that we are facing in different aspects. How is it that we as spiritual or persons who are in the spiritual aspect could counteract or advise persons to counteract the addiction, whatever, whereas be marijuana, weed, or alcohol, cocaine, I don't know. It all depends on whatever drugs they may be consuming. I would like the Prabhu to explain to the general public, that is to say, how is it that they could mitigate from deviating from that aspect and establish or go to a different or go to a higher level to upward mobility. I mean,
Thank you, yes.
there's a generation that is coming up, and in our country we are facing a serious crisis.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Of
think we get the
addiction.
point. Yeah.
Addiction.
Addiction.
Thank
we
you
are
so
facing
much.
that a lot
Yes.
in this country. And the addiction is causing a lot of, as a matter of fact, our young people to go to a different level. And as a matter of fact, especially in the government aspect, they're violating the teachers. And as such,
Sure, so we'll address your question. So you are asking about addiction. How do we
Very.
deal with addiction
Yeah,
from a
exactly.
spiritual perspective? Thank you. Yeah, thank you for raising that. That's such an important point. In Japan, they have a proverb. First, the man takes a drink. Then the drink takes the drink. Then the drink takes the man. Understand? First, someone makes the decision, I'll take a drink. Then when they get drunk, the drink is now taking the drink because they're not thinking anymore. And once they get so intoxicated, the drink takes away all their good discrimination and their own character. So addiction is a downward spiral. So how do we deal with that? What tools do we have for that? How do we respond to that? What spiritual life teaches us is something, again, that the educational system doesn't teach you: mind and sense control. People don't know how to control their senses. People don't know how to control their minds because there's no spiritual training in this. When we come to a spiritual tradition, we learn how to live a pure lifestyle. We learn how to forego immediate pleasures. We learn discipline. We learn ways of, through knowledge, understanding that there's something better than just immediately gratifying myself. These are things you're not taught in school. And therefore, naturally, there's greater addiction. But shall I tell you the real solution to addiction? The real solution to addiction is given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. In a beautiful verse, Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. There's only one way to give up temporary pleasures: by finding the eternal, spiritual, transcendent pleasure. Krishna says, only when you have a higher taste can you give up the lower taste. People know alcohol won't make them happy. People know drugs won't make them happy. People know shopping and materialistic accumulation will not make them happy, but they keep doing it. Why? Because they don't have anything to replace it. What we're teaching in the Krishna consciousness movement is the higher taste. And if you contact that higher taste, no one will have to convince you to give up the lower taste, because you'll automatically have something much more relishable. All right?
Thank you very much. Rashi, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So as we all know, the world is evolving in every aspect. So my question is, how can young people and emerging leaders deal with the pressure to succeed quickly and the tendency to compare themselves with others? Thank you.
So we live in a world of comparison. Everyone is looking at everyone else, measuring up. Imagine you're a student and you go into an exam. So this student is thinking, I'm going into this exam, I've got to get high grades. So somehow or other, the student ends up sitting next to the cleverest person in class. And they think, it must be God's arrangement. And what they do is in the exam, they copy the cleverest kid's answer paper. And then they come out of the exam thinking, I aced it. But what they didn't realize is that everyone had a different question paper. The first misunderstanding about success is that there's one success that everyone should be aiming for. Everyone is an individual. Everyone has a unique quality. Everyone has a unique contribution to make to the world. And therefore, what success looks like for you will be different than what success looks like for someone else. Einstein said everyone is a genius. But if you convince a fish that it has to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking it's a failure. So the first thing to realize is I'm an individual and I need to follow my individual path and not try to imitate someone else's path. But the second deeper point to realize is, what is success? Is success popularity? Is success a percentage in an exam? Is success a profit on a sheet? Is success power in a hierarchy? Is success prestige in society? We're judged by numbers. We think success is numbers. Einstein said, everything that counts, everything that can be counted doesn't necessarily count. And sometimes the things that can't be counted count for more. So we live in a world where we measure success by numbers. But maybe there's a deeper, more hidden measure of success. And that deeper, more hidden measure of success is, can you go to bed at night and say, I lived a life in which I was tolerant, compassionate, truthful, kind, selfless, a life in which I conquered over pride, envy, greed, anger, lust. Maybe that's the most ambitious thing you can do in your life. Because if you achieve everything out there, but in your heart you still have lust, anger, pride, envy, and greed, are you really successful? The real success is the success of character. And that's where the spiritual teachers and traditions put the emphasis, not on what the external world sees. And therefore we tell people, don't just create a life that looks good on the outside. Create a life that feels good on the inside.
Well, put your hands together. Thank you very much. Maharaj, in closing, not just this session, this evening function here, but in wrapping up your visit to Guyana, if there is anything you would like to say before we go for some, well, there are some books that will be highlighted. Sajisuta Prabhu and Priyavrata Prabhu will tell you about that. And of course, maybe a little meet and greet. Otherwise, Maharaj, anything? You're free, whatever you would like to say to us.
No,
at this
thank you
point in
so
time
much.
in
It's been an honor to be here. My first visit to Guyana, indeed my first visit to this part of the world. And it's been amazing to meet all of you, to see what's happening here, and to see the incredible opportunity there is in this country to share spiritual values. And so we've had incredible events over the last few days. We've met the leaders of your nation as well, which has been amazing. And we've got many plans of beautiful things we want to do. But we need all of you to be involved. We need all of you to be alive, active, enthusiastic, inspired to be part of this journey. And my firm conviction is that all of us here in the room, if we put the best of ourselves into working together, we can do something incredible in this country, because I think your country is waiting for it. So may we all become more spiritually inspired, and may we all come together in a spirit of cooperation, and with whatever skills you have and whatever knowledge you have and your time and resources, use that to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission and to co-jointly work together, and make this world a little nicer, a little more beautiful, and a little more spiritual and Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna.
Wow, thank you very much. So just before I hand it over back to Sachi Sutta, on behalf of myself, my family, on behalf of the Hare Krishna Study Center, the leadership, their Lordship, Sri Sri Paramakanda Nitai Gaur Chandra, ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada, on behalf of all the devotees of ISKCON Guyana National Board, Maharaj, we take this opportunity to be humbly grateful for your kindness on us and upon Guyana in the whole. We think that your visit going to be more timely, even though we would have been waiting eagerly for quite some years. A lot of prayers, a lot of tears, a lot of endeavors. I would like to especially thank one of my senior godbrother, Vidura Madhava Prabhu, who would have inspired our visit 3 years ago from Houston, Texas, originally from Essequibo, of course. Vidura Prabhu was convinced of getting marriage to come to Guyana. And that call came, I was driving out of Sridham Mayapur, ISKCON World Headquarters. he called me and said that, you know, Maharaj is here and he's inviting Maharaj to Guyana, would you accept him? So I was like, come on, what you're saying? So we'd like to thank His Grace Vidura Prabhu and all the devotees who would have been instrumental, His Grace Shanta Vigra Prabhu, Paramatma Prabhu, many other devotees of your team also who would have worked behind the scene, organizing your travels and everything, and even while you're here. And we wish you all the best in your onward journey and lots of fun and adventure in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Maharaj. Sajisuta Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Let us put our hands together once again for the wonderful discussion. So thank you, Prabhupada Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj. It was very enlivening, very inspiring to hear the message this evening, rising above adversity. So quickly, there are a few, like 5 books, 5 titles that are remaining. As I mentioned earlier, Maharaj has authored 11 books, and fortunately we have a few of those titles here, 5. I'll just quickly list them for you and give a brief highlight of what these books are about. The first one is Gita 3. Goes through all 18 chapters of the Gita, 3 distinct times, each with a thematic overview, key lessons, and thought experiments. Then there is another title, Tattva 2. This is a collection of Keshava Swami's own reflections and writings over the years. Another one, Gita Life. This takes you through every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, boiled down into an easy-to-remember acronym. Just think of that, 700 verses, 18 chapters coming down to acronyms so that we can remember and take with us the key messages of the Gita. Then there is the book Bhagavata. This book is the teachings and stories from all the 12 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam summarized as easy to remember acronyms as well. And then the last one we have is Entering Eternity, where Maharaj has shared reflections from his journey on pilgrimage in Braj Mandal, Parikram. This is in Vrindavan, India. 30 immersive days visiting sacred sites of Lord Krishna, camping under the stars and embracing the spiritual atmosphere. Like last evening, your ear, Maharaj was mentioning how he stayed in one camp one evening and a bull ran into the camp in Vrindavan on this parikram. So many exciting stories are there. On the book table is over to my right. So you'll take turns. You can come up and take a copy, and Maharaj will be there to autograph it for you personally And of course, you can greet Maharaj as well before you leave. So the programs, the celebration has now started, even though unwillingly we have to put a wrap to Maharaj's this visit. We're emphasizing this visit. Next Thursday, major festivities are coming up. Next Thursday will be Lord Balaram's Jayanti. And then a week after that, so the program will be at 10 o'clock. And that's next Thursday, Lord Balaram Jayanti. It's a midday celebration. And the following week, which will be the ending of, beginning of September, the weekend of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th of September, will be Janmashtami celebration. We're having 4 days celebration at the Hare Krishna Study Center from 3rd of September to the 6th, 3rd to the 6th. Where the main Janmashtami celebration will be on Friday the 4th. And then on Saturday, 5th, will be Srila Prabhupada's Mahavyasa Puja. Also, our Korean Hare Krishna Temple will be having 3 days of celebration. That is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And also our new Kulinigram Temple in Barbies and Essequibo as well. So wherever you are for that weekend, please join the celebration, Janmashtami and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Thank you once again, and we see you very soon. Before you leave, there's a nice dinner being prepared for everyone. Please honor that before you leave. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So the meet and greet part is there also, and of course you can have your books or your book autographed by His Holiness. So those who would like to come forward, and we can have some probably group pictures with His Holiness on his first visit to Guyana. That is why I'm clearing the stage here. So some group pictures, have your book autographed by